It is 5:01 p.m. on Wednesday, October 11th. Welcome to D Cone Designs. I'm Debbie Cone with D Cone Designs. Thank you for tuning in to my live web stream on my channel. If you can hear me, if you would let me know in the chat, and then let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd sure appreciate it. I'd love to know. Now I'm coming from Phoenix, Arizona. It is over 90 degrees, about 100 degrees today, so it's a little bit on the warm side, so you'll hear my air conditioning kick on and off. And in the background, you'll see the blocks that I have up on my design wall kind of waving in the breeze of the air conditioning just a little bit. I'm hoping that you can hear me. If you can, if you would give me a thumbs up in the chat or just let me know, that would be super. I want to make sure everyone can hear. That would be awesome. Let me move my microphone around. Hopefully that will help. Oh, good. Thank you for tuning in. I sure appreciate it. I hope that helps. I moved the microphone onto my body, so that should help. This is my first time doing a live stream, so I apologize for any technical difficulties or faux pas on my part. If you have any questions about the sew-along or anything else you'd like to ask me, please do that in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them the best that I can. So in the live stream today, I'm just thinking I'll sew, but I'll answer questions. I've got a few things I want to talk about. It just all depends on what all you want to know and what you want to see. So right now, as you probably know, I'm in the middle of a Walk in the Stars Quilt Along. What I wanted to do was a sampler quilt along. I've done quilt alongs twice before on my channel. The last 2 years I've done a quilt along. The one that I did most recently was the Scrappy Sizzler, not this past summer, but the summer before. And I made 2 different versions of the quilt. And that pattern will eventually be for sale on my website as well. But it was up for quite a while during and after the quilt along. Before that, I did one in support of Ukraine and as a quilt along, and that pattern is still available for free on my website. If you go to dconedesigns.com, you'll be able to access the free pattern just in the throw size, which is the size that I did during the quilt along. That will be up on my website and free through the end of December 2023. All I ask is that if you do happen to pick up the pattern, if you would donate to a charity or cause of your choice in support of Ukraine, that would be awesome. I'm not picking a charity for you. You choose what works best for you and your circumstances, as well as the amount. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water. So the story, I thought I'd tell you the story about the Ukraine quilt. And it is blue and white, and it's the Ukrainian flags going in a diagonal direction down through the quilt, alternating with, trying to think of the name of it, flower blocks. There's the name for the flower blocks. It escapes me, I apologize. Anyway, so I sewed the quilt, and the reason I did that is because my sister and her husband used to be church leaders in Ukraine. They were American, but they went to Ukraine to serve over there, and they were there in Kiev, or Kyiv as they call it now, for quite a few years, and they were also in Zaporozhye at one time, and that's where the nuclear power plant is. That's been really a questionable situation ever since Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Anyway, in support of the people that they know there, their friends and people that they know, I thought I would make a quilt to honor and support them. So I did the quilt along, and I actually put the quilt in the state fair. the Arizona State Fair almost a year ago now, and I was hoping that someone would purchase it because it would mean something to them. And I went again the last day of the fair, and I was very happy to find out that someone had purchased the quilt. And the story told to me by a staff member for the fair was that a woman purchased it to honor a friend for her birthday, and that friend had served, I think it was as a nurse or in some health serving capacity in Ukraine for many years, had come back to the States, and she wanted to have a special quilt to honor her friend for her birthday. So the quilt, she purchased the quilt, and that was shipped somewhere else outside of the state to her friend. So I'm really happy that the quilt is honoring someone who has done a lot for Ukraine, and it'll be a source of comfort and cheer to that person, whoever they may be, and I don't know. But so it found a great home, and I'm really happy about it. So that's the story of the Ukraine quilt. I don't have pictures right now because I don't have a way to put them up on the screen while I'm broadcasting right now. That will be remedied in the future. But I am happy that it went to a wonderful home, and you can see the pictures and the pattern on my website at dconedesigns.com. You go to the free patterns tab, and you can scroll down and you'll see the Ukraine quilt. So that's one of the things. Another thing you can find on my website, if you're interested, is another free pattern, this time for a simple table runner. It's not anything difficult, it's easy, it's quick, and that is available for free as well on my website at dconedesigns.com. You go to the free patterns, and there it is. And you'll see the pictures of it as well. If you have any questions for me, just type them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. Right now, what am I working on? Well, you can see behind me, you can see behind me, I have blocks tacked up on my makeshift design wall. And those are for the Walk in the Stars Quilt Along. I don't have them all up. I didn't have time to tack them all up, and some aren't done yet, quite frankly. I'm actually in the midst of filming for next week's video, which will be the Missouri Star block. And that one you can see right behind me, right there, this one, right here that I'm pointing to, is the Missouri Star quilt block, and the video for that will be out next week. Again, if you're sewing along, be sure to welcome North Carolina. Thank you for tuning in. So be sure to download all the block patterns. We've done the star flower, which is this one here, and then we've done the tiny friendship stars there, and then over here and here. The reason I did those two first, the smallest and the largest, is because they are the exact same techniques, just one is much larger than the other, basically. You just have half square triangles, HSTs. In the friendship stars, they're tiny, and then in the star flower blocks, they're much larger. So in the first week after the introduction, so week 2, which is blocks 1 and block 5, you knock out the 4 smallest and the 4 largest blocks. And they're the easiest ones, actually. They're just HSTs. So I designed the quilt so you would build on your skills for those that are newer to quilting. That's how I've designed it. And for those that don't have a lot of time, these are quick and easy blocks for you if you're a more experienced quilter. So we've got the HST blocks first, and then after that was the, right here, the Ohio Star, which is an easy block as well, but it features quarter square triangles. So we go from the easiest, half square triangles, to the Ohio Star. Let me move the camera just a little bit for a moment so you can see it. There it is, right there. There's one of them, the Ohio Star block, which is a quarter square triangles. Dry today. Let me get another drink. As you might imagine, it's dry here in the Arizona desert as well. Okay, and then, there we go. After quarter square triangles, I decided to go to my favorite block of all, this one here, the Sawtooth Star. Except I wanted to change it up just a little bit, and I did a reverse Sawtooth Star. That means normally in a Sawtooth Star, as you probably know, the center and the star points are the focal prints, the main prints in the block. But in a reverse, or maybe it's actually inverse, I don't know, Sawtooth Star, the star points, and not in this case the center, but the star points and the center normally for the reverse are the background fabric. So that's what I've done here. The star points are actually the background fabric, and the focal prints are around the outside to outline the star. I chose to put a fussy cut center in my reverse sawtooth star, but you could make it solid background fabric if you wanted. So that's the inverse or the reverse sawtooth star. The sawtooth star is my favorite block. In fact, it's the logo for my brand and for my website is the sawtooth star. So that was the next most difficult because it's flying geese, which aren't too difficult. In the sawtooth star, it's just one color for the star points. It's not too difficult, and I walk you through it step by step. If you watched the video last week, I used the 4 at a time, no waste flying geese method. I like that one the best. It's a little bit unusual at first. You really need to look at it, either photos or video, to understand it. But once you do, you go, oh, okay, I get it. And that last magic turn when you sew on the third HST really makes the difference. Then you cut it and you flip it open and voila, there are your flying geese. So it makes it easy, and there's not a lot of waste. So that was for the reverse, this one right here, the reverse sawtooth star. This week I'm filming right now for the Missouri star block, and this one has 2 colors in the star points. You can see here there's a red and gray plaid, and then a navy blue with white stars. That navy blue with white stars fabric is actually the background fabric, which I have hanging in between the blocks in the background, so that you can kind of get an idea of how the quilt, not how it will look exactly, but so that you can see that I've kind of done it reversed. In the first one that you see in the advertisements that I've done for the A Walk in the Stars quilt on my video and in my thumbnails for the channel, you'll see I use a white background and I'm using Marvel Comics. But when I made it the second time, and I decided to do it as a YouTube quilt along, I wanted to do it with a dark background because some people get tired of, or they're just not all that fond of, a light background. And I also wanted to do it in Christmas or winter fabrics because it's not too late. If you want to sew this up, you'll get it done in time for a Christmas gift or Hanukkah gift or whatever holiday you and your loved ones celebrate. So I wanted to show it with a dark background. And in fact, I deliberately chose the fabrics. They're red and white and blue, but there's also teal or aqua in the snowmen, and then over here in the cute snowman fabric, and then in the berries in the little corners. The berries fabric has an aqua or turquoise color to it. So it's red, white, and blue and turquoise. And I chose it, one, because it's really cute. It's these mittens and snowmen, but also you could envision it then in a patriotic set of fabrics if you want to do it for a quilt of valor. You could easily see how this would work in red, white, and blue, and you could do it either in a dark background or in a light background. It wouldn't really matter. It would look good either way. And I deliberately made this size of the throw that I'm doing on the quilt along, the one that's free, the pattern that's free, does meet the Quilt of Valor requirements. I think you might have to add 1 extra border on it. I think I put it in the notes in the finishing. I'll double check that it will meet the Quilt of Valor requirements. You just need an added extra border, and then it'll be perfect if you were looking for a charity or donation quilt for a very worthy cause, the Quilts of Valor Foundation. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. You can ask me anything you'd like about the quilt along or quilting or what else is going on in my life. I'd be happy to share. And if you just joined in, thank you for watching. I sure appreciate it. Please let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I always like to hear from where my subscribers are coming from. Again, if you just joined, welcome. I'm Debbie with Decone Designs, and you're actually seeing a little behind the scenes, a peek behind the curtain, so to speak. When I film my videos, I film in my kitchen, and this is where I typically film them. On the other side, facing the other way, is a window. I don't know if I can turn the camera around for a second, if you can see that. There's the window, the curtains, and palm trees. But so I have a quilt stand right there that the batting is hanging on, and I usually just raise it all the way up so you can't see my cupboards, and I put whatever I'm focusing on onto my my design wall, so to speak. It's not really a design wall. It's just a quilt stand, like a photography light stand with batting. If I'm just putting blocks on it, or I'll put background fabric like I've been doing for this quilt along, I put the dark background fabric on it. And then I sit in front of that and I film. It does make it look a little bit one-dimensional, but it's the best place I have because the lighting's the best here in my house and it gives me the most room. My quilting things are actually in one of my bedrooms, but the light in there really isn't very good and I don't have a fancy light set up. I try to use the natural light when I can when I'm filming. So this is kind of a peek behind the scenes that you can see my kitchen cabinets. Oh, let me move this back over. And some of my photography there. There we go. A little bit more like that. Sorry about the camera shake there. Nope, put it up just slightly. There we go. And my kitchen counter. So not everybody has a fancy setup when they're doing YouTube videos. Some of them are just like me, just doing the best they can with what they've got. Let me fix this, it's bothering me. That's a little better. I don't want you to get seasick looking at the backgrounds on it. Anyway, so this is just a tiny peek behind the scenes. I hoist the frame, I put up my batting, and whatever background I'm going to use. Usually it's a quilt, either the quilt that I'm focusing on or the blocks that I'm showing for the video that particular week, or whatever else that I want to showcase. That's what goes on the makeshift design wall, and that's what I put up. And then I take it all down again when I'm done filming. So fortunately, this week it is fall break. I'm retired, but I'm a teacher, substitute teacher, and I substitute a lot, almost every day of the week. And most of the schools that I sub in, those districts, they're on fall break right now. So it was nice to take a little break from filming the YouTube videos, although I actually have been filming. I was filming earlier today, and try out something new. So this is an adventure for me. Again, if you just joined us, welcome. I'm Debbie with Decone Designs. If you'd let me know in the chat any questions you might have for me and where you're tuning in from, I'd love to know. So as you might know, if you've seen any of my videos, I always start them by saying, welcome creative adventurers. Why do I say that? Why don't I say, hi quilters, or something like that? Because when I decided to start the YouTube channel, I really wanted to focus on quilting, but I wanted to think of it in terms of an adventure. It's not a high pressure thing that you have to get done. I wanted to feel fun and relaxing in the sense of, well, we'll try this. If it doesn't work, it's an adventure. It's not a big deal. If it works, great. I've learned something new. I've learned whether I like it or I don't like it, or I need more practice, or nah, never doing that again. It's an adventure. And so I try to do that in my personal life, not just in quilting, but I try to think of having adventures in my life, because otherwise it gets kind of boring. So to me, an adventure could be anything. It could be trying a new food, going to a new restaurant. It could be, let me back up just a little bit. I'm getting afternoon sun coming through my windows. Sorry about that. An adventure could be almost anything. So today's adventure is trying out a YouTube live stream. Another recent adventure I had was I did paper piecing, foundation paper piecing for the first time. I took a class. Shout out to Gail Carson of Artisan Studios. She was wonderful. She did a class for our guild, and I had a great time. I think I would enjoy it. It's more hands-on. Fiddly isn't the right term. You really, there's a lot of handwork. I could see how paper piecing would be, the repetition of it would be very soothing, especially if you like to do things with your hands. I'm not so much of a hand person in the sense of English paper piecing, hand sewing. I don't like hand sewing. But I do like the paper piecing part of it. Once I got the hang of it, she's got this great technique using freezer paper. It's way less waste. I got to use some favorite batik material, which I really liked. And I jumped right in. And I learned a lot. I think I need to sit back down and work on it some more. we were working on what looks kind of like a New York Beauty, a section of a New York Beauty block. And I love the look of them. I don't know if I'll ever get a whole quilt done of it, but if I could at least finish enough to do 2, 3, or 4 blocks, I'd have a New York Beauty wall hanging, maybe 4 squares, or 4 squares in a row for a table runner or something like that. But, you know, why not try it? I don't have much to lose. It's some freezer paper, and I had some boutiques on hand, and the class and Gail was so patient and kind with all of us. So that was one of my other adventures. Sorry, I have something in my contact lens there. Okay, sorry about that. Again, welcome if you've just joined me. Please let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'm Debbie with Decone Designs, and I'm talking about creative adventures in quilting and in life. So a creative adventure might be going a different place that you haven't been to recently, going a different way home from work, trying a new food on the menu, cooking something with an ingredient that you're not familiar with. Trying a new recipe. It could be doing a new sport, trying a new sport. One of my creative ventures was playing pickleball. My sister introduced me and got me hooked. We're not playing as much right now, but I do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's easier than tennis, and it's kind of like ping pong, only played on a large court. Anyway, pickleball was one of my creative adventures. Another creative adventure I had was a couple of summers ago. This was in 2021, so we were just coming out of the pandemic, and I wanted to go on vacation, but I didn't want to be around a lot of people. And I drove across the country to Missouri Stars Quilt Company by myself. So I drove cross country, took a couple of days and stayed overnight a couple of nights. And I had never driven that far before. I had driven to California and back, but I had not driven more than 1,000 miles by myself. And it was fun. I don't think I'd do it again as far as driving just by myself. It was a long trip. But then I had a great time at Missouri Star. It's a Disneyland for quilters for sure. They had a retreat there, very inexpensive, really hospitable. I had a wonderful time going through all the shops. I held myself to a budget. I only spent about $125, and there were ladies spending hundreds and hundreds and more dollars. But it was a wonderful trip. If you ever get the chance to go, I really encourage it. So anyway, I drove to Missouri Star, went on the retreat there, got to meet Jenny, and I got a photo to prove it. She's wonderful, just like she is in the video. She's wonderful and warm in person as well. So then I drove to Lincoln, Nebraska, to the International Quilt Museum in Lincoln, and got to go to some of these exhibits there. That was really interesting too. I really enjoyed it. And then on the way home, because I was making a big old loop, I went back through Colorado and stayed a couple days just outside of Rocky Mountain National Park. I have been to Colorado, but never to the Rocky Mountains. And they are as beautiful as they say, for sure. Anyway, so that was a big creative adventure from a couple of years ago. Someone in the chat, I apologize I didn't get who it was, asked me what is if I got this right, what is a quilting tool that you don't yet have but you are eyeing? That's a great question. I just bought one, it's in the other room. I just bought a wavy ruler to try out doing quilting with it. I'm not sure because I didn't buy like Elvira. It's kind of similar to the Elvira ruler that Creative Grids puts out through Angela Walters. It's a template or an acrylic ruler that is a wavy shape, and I know that I can use it for tracing wavy lines so I can do some quilting because I have a wall hanging. It's called Boo Crew, the Halloween free sew along from last Halloween, not this year but last year, that I made but I never got it quilted. So I thought I'd try quilting waves on that wall hanging. But what my question is, I'm not sure if I can use it with my free motion quilting foot or if it will hop up too far onto the ruler and break it. So I'm going to take it really slow and try it out. And I figure it wasn't that expensive, and if nothing else I can use it for tracing the waves so that I can stitch my quilting, my free motion quilting on it. So I thought that's fun. That's new. I haven't tried it yet. Another thing is the orange peel. The orange peel ruler or template. I want the one that fits in the charm square. I think it's the 4.5 inch. And I have looked at my local quilt shop and my big box stores, and none of them have it. In the Phoenix metro area, 35th Avenue Sew and Vac is the largest and most complete quilt shop in the area, and probably even in the state. It's a fairly large quilt shop. Unfortunately, they didn't have it. I would have liked to get it. So on my list is to get an orange peel template, because I saw this really cool pattern, and I'm sure you would know this, but you trace the orange peels and you applique them onto charm squares, and you make it so it looks like flowers and in the different blocks, and then you sew it together. And I don't mind a little applique. I'm not doing it by hand. I sew with either a real tiny straight stitch, or if I get out my old Singer, then I can do like a blanket stitch or something like that around it. So that's definitely one of the tools that I'm eyeing. Another one is a binding tool. I saw this on Fat Quarter Shop. It's a tool where you can wrap your, it's acrylic, excuse me, and it has like notches, and you wrap your binding around it so that you can keep it together. All I've been doing is clipping my binding on a skirt hanger and hanging it up, but I was looking for a tool to make that more compact. So the binding tool and the orange peel template are on my quilty wish list for sure. So those are two tools I've been thinking about, and I hope to get in the near future. Again, if you just joined us, thank you for tuning in. I'm Debbie Cohn with G Cohn Designs. I'm coming to you from the Phoenix metro area in Arizona in the southwestern United States. So if you'd let me know in the chat any questions you might have for me about the quilt along or quilting or anything else, and where you're tuning in from, I'd sure appreciate it. What else did I want to talk about? There was something else, I can't remember what it was. The quilt along that we're in the middle of right now. There's this next week, there'll be one more video. That will be the Missouri Star, which is this one right here. And then after that, the last week will be the finishing, where I show you how to put the blocks together with the background fabric, the navy blue and white stars background fabric, in that zigzag pattern to complete the quilt. So I think you'll really like it. If you haven't started, it's not too late. You've got till the end of November to download the block patterns, and then and there'll be the finishing instructions as well the last week. But be sure to download it by the end of November. So you'll have an extra month. We'll finish here at the end of October. You'll have an extra month to get them downloaded. And then after that, I'm going to take them down and consolidate them. And I'm getting ready to put several patterns in my shop on my website in the near future. Just working out some technical issues with the website shop stuff, the software. Anyway, so be sure to download the block patterns, even if you don't have time to get to them all right away. That's perfectly fine. But if you do, this would make a great quilt. Like I said, for look great in Christmas fabrics. I think it'd look really good in gold and silver, or in a whimsical red and green. A quilt of valor. It would look great as a masculine quilt, as I tried to demonstrate with the Marvel Comics one in the original pictures of the A Walk in the Stars quilt. If you look closely, those are Marvel Comics fabrics that I got from Walmart. Oh, so that's another thing I want to talk about. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. If you do, that's great. Put them in the chat and I'll be glad to answer them. I'm not a fabric snob. I'm just not. And I actually do have a video all about quilting on a budget, all about fabric, where I've got lots of ideas for ways to save money. I love fabric as much as everybody else. It's so beautiful. I just want to pet all the fabric when I go to the quilt shop. But the problem is it's really expensive, especially if you're on a budget like me. And if you're not, that's great. That's wonderful. I wish I weren't, but I am. So I have to kind of curate what I buy from the quilt shop. And I watch those Fat Quarter Shop videos where Kimberly goes through all the latest collections, and okay, which one or two do I want to spend my money on? Which one or two can I see myself sewing something with it? I don't just want to buy it because it's pretty. I mean, I do, but I'm not going to. Can I see myself sewing with this? Is there a particular project or pattern or person that this collection would be good for? And usually if I buy, I'll buy a layer cake. For me, that's the most versatile. It's less expensive than fat quarter bundles because that's most of the time a fat quarter bundle is kind of out of my price range. Unless I have a gift card, and you never know because my birthday and Christmas are coming up, I might get some gift cards. But typically I'll buy a layer cake of the really wonderful fancy fabrics, and I'll do that. If I'm more on a budget, first I'll shop my stash, which is where I found some of the fabrics, not all of the fabrics, for this quilt along. As I mentioned in the first video, the primary fabrics I'm using are from Henry Glass, all bundled up. And that's the mittens fabric and the snowman fabric and the berries fabric. And then the background fabric is from another line. I apologize, I can't remember what it is, but it's a current fabric collection, winter fabric collection as well. But the other fabrics, the plaids, the white on white snowflake, what else do I have in there? The red and white snowflake are from my stash. Or in one case, I think I went to my local Joann's and bought some fabric there, but it was on sale. So where I can, I shop my stash first, and then I check at my local big box stores or at Walmart. Like I said, the Marvel Comics fabrics I had bought a fat quarter bundle. It was on clearance at Walmart, thinking I might make it for someone. I didn't have anyone special in mind, but I knew I wanted to make a more masculine and maybe youth-related quilt. And when I'm eventually done with the first version, the Marvel Comics version of A Walk in the Stars, that will probably be donated to one of the charities that my guild sews for. So I look around for bargains wherever I can find it. I'm also looking, a good place is if you have a Hobby Lobby and choose to shop there. They, right now, at my Hobby Lobby anyway, have 50% off of some of their clearance Christmas fabrics. It looks like they have fabric from last year and they put it in a separate bin that they've cleared out, and they're getting ready to add new Christmas fabrics. Anyway, it was half off, and their fabric isn't real expensive, and I found some wonderful woven red plaid. It's really nice quality. It feels great in my hand, and I bought it for like $4 a yard. And I was so excited. They also had a green plaid for another project I'm working on, and I picked that up for like $3.50 or $4 a yard too. So you never know. Another good place to look is if you go to a wonderful quilt shop, check their clearance section or the back of the store. Sometimes they have extra overstock or clearance fabrics, and you can pick up bargains that way. And sometimes you could even find a little extra fabric of that favorite fabric collection that you've had for years, and you wished you had more, and you just happened to luck into it. That's happened to me once or twice, and it was, yay, I found some more of this fabric that I love. So you never know what wonderful treasures you're going to find at a quilt shop or at a big box store. You just never know. Another place, of course, to look is at your guild if you belong to a guild. I belong to 2 guilds. I belong to Phoenix Area Quilters Association. Shout out to PACA and our board. They're wonderful. It's a fairly large guild, at least for Arizona. It has well over 100 members. And I also belong to a smaller guild called Lonesome Valley Quilt Guild. And in both guilds, of course, we have free table, and you just never know what you might pick up from there. One person's trash is definitely another person's treasure. So that's another fun way to get fabric inexpensively or free. Or trade with your quilty friends. You never know what they might like and you might like. It'll benefit both of you. So those are some things that I've been doing. Shopping sales and the free table as well. It's been lots of fun. If you've just joined me, welcome. My name is Debbie Cohn with Decone Designs. Thank you for tuning in. If you're just joining, if you'll put in the chat where you're from, I'd sure appreciate it. Sorry, I've got a fly bothering me there. Sorry about that. I'd love to know where you're joining me from. Here in the Phoenix area, it's a little after 5:30 or so, and the sun is just setting, so the lighting is changing a little bit. I may have to adjust my lighting slightly. So I apologize if it's looking a little strange. The light is coming in through my windows, and it's just getting a little bit more dim. Anyway, so it's supper time, so if you are eating dinner, or if you just finished and you're doing the dishes, doing a little quilting, I'm glad you stopped by. And If you're just tuning in, this is a little bit of a behind the scenes peek as I was explaining. I film my YouTube videos in my kitchen, and the setup I use looks like this. I just happened to put the camera where you could see what's behind, so to speak, behind my makeshift design wall. That's some quilt stands. I put a big roll of batting over the quilt stand, and then I tacked up my latest blocks for my A Walk in the Stars Quilt Along. And I lowered the quilt stand so that you could see that it's really just standing in front of my kitchen cabinets in my kitchen. And the way that I'm facing faces a window where I get natural light. So that's kind of a bit of the behind the scenes sneak peek. Let me take a breath and a drink, and if you have any questions for me, please put them in the chat. I'd love to answer them for you. I've been working on several projects. I'm finishing up this quilt along, and I've got a quilt that I'm making for my niece. It's all put together. It's a carpenter star. I'm using Jenny Doan's Easy Carpenter Star pattern, which I think you can get for free, if I'm not mistaken, at Missouri Star. But you can get the Carpenter Star pattern basically for free anyway, just off of, there's a lot of places you can get it for free. It's simple HSTs, it's all in the pattern choices, it's all in the fabric choices and the way that you lay it out. So I think that'll be fun. It's a purple and white quilt. And I took her to a quilt show. I don't think she'd been to one other quilt show. And she was looking at the quilts. She's 11, she's turning 12. And she saw this purple and white quilt and just went, "Oh, I really love that, Aunt Debbie." And I said, "Well, would you like me to make you one?" Because I've made her one quilt, but it's been several years. And I made her brother two, so it was time to make Lizzie another one. So she said that's what she wanted, so I've gotten purple fabrics from my stash and some from Joann's and a couple from the quilt shop. I put it all together, and it's all laid out in rows and clipped together, and it's ready to sew. So I just need to stitch that up, and then I will take it to the long armor. I have a wonderful long armor. If you are tuning in the Phoenix metro area, her name is Darcy of Hummingbird Quilts. Shout out to Darcy. She does a wonderful job. And if you would like her information, just let me know and I can post that. She's a wonderful long armor, and she's done several of my quilts and quilts for my friends as well. Anyway, so I'll send it off to Darcy to be quilted. In fact, that's where the A Walk in the Stars first quilt is. That's why it's not on the design wall, because it's at Darcy's being long armed right now. Let's see, what is one quilt that you haven't made yet you're looking forward to making? Thank you for putting in there. I didn't catch your name, I apologize. I've got several on my bucket list. One is a bookshelf quilt, just because I'm a book nerd. I was an English major in college. What can I say? I love books, have loved them my whole life. And I want to make a bookshelf quilt. And there are some stunning bookshelf quilts out there. Mine probably won't be that fancy. But maybe I can get one of my quilty friends to embroider the names of some of my favorite books on it. That's one for sure. Another one is, let's see, it used to be called the Gypsy's Wife, but now they call it the Wandering, or the Wanderer, the Wandering Wife by Jen Kingwell. I love the look of that, and I want to do it. But that's down the road a ways. I've got a lot of other quilts that I want to do. That's a fabulous pattern. I just love the way she intertwines the blocks and the colors. It's definitely intricate. It's not a beginner quilt for sure, but I feel like I can tackle it in the next year or two, get a start on it. Some others that I've got going is I have a chandelier quilt. The pattern that is Vanessa Gertzen that Missouri Star put out for free. It's designed by Vanessa Gertzen. It's quick, it's easy, it looks beautiful. I have one where the blocks are done, it needs to be sewn, and then I have a second one in a different colorway that I want to sew up. So that's on my my launching pad, so to speak. And then what I really want to make is the bird quilt. Missouri Star, Jenny Doan did a quilt with all these cute little birds, and you can use scraps. And I think it would just be so cute to make these little birds. I might modify it slightly, but I just think that is such a darling pattern. I want to do that one too. But I don't have the fabrics picked out for that yet. I'm thinking about it. And then another one that is on my launching pad to do before Christmas is the Itty Bitty Kitty Committee. I want to say that's the Missouri Star pattern, but I'm not positive. It's similar. If it's not, it's real similar to that. It's the cat blocks, the cat pattern blocks, and there's they all just sit in a row. Some I'm going to face one way, and some I'll have facing the other way. It's for a friend of mine who watches my cats for me when I go away. She takes care of them. She does a wonderful job, and she doesn't know, so don't tell that it's for Cheyenne. So that is coming up in the very near future as well. Let's see, what else? Bookshelf quilt, the Jen Kingwell quilt, for sure. Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head that I haven't sewn yet, that are like kind of bucket list quilts, and ones that I've got coming up in the near future. I'm thinking about doing a kind of a block of the month for 2024, but I don't know that I want it to be a quilt. I'm thinking of doing maybe a wall hanging or a door hanger, but I'm not sure yet. If you have an idea for me, what might work well, let me know in the chat. I was thinking stars, because you know I like stars, but maybe I might get sick of that. The idea would be like maybe seasonal, so maybe I'd pick 6 of them: fall, winter, spring, summer, and maybe Thanksgiving season and Christmas, or winter season, or Christmas. So those 2 holidays and then 4 seasons, and it would be vertical or square, and then have either 4 blocks and say happy fall or happy spring, or it would just say welcome, and then the blocks that represent the season or the holiday. So I'm thinking about that. And I apologize, I just missed in the chat, someone posted and I didn't catch it, so I apologize. I'm not sure if you're able to repost it. Let me see if I can make it come back up. I apologize, I don't know how to get the chat. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Have you read any fun books recently? Yes, actually, I just finished one called The Second Chance Shop, and I can't remember who it's by. I enjoyed the premise of it. It got a little slow toward the middle, but the basic idea was this woman, it's set in England, London maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, this woman basically loses her job, but she gets some severance money, so she's got a few months to find herself and find another job. So to get out of the house, she takes a job in a thrift store. And the book alternates between her story about what's going on in her life and how she moves out of her rut and finds another job, mends some relationships. And it alternates between that and stories about some objects that were in the quilt store, that were donated to the thrift shop. And at first it seems like the objects that the stories are about are random. But eventually, when you get farther along in the book, you realize that the author has chosen those particular objects and their stories because they relate in some way to the woman's story that the book is about. So I thought it was an interesting premise, and it was fun. And I do enjoy thrift shops now and then. I'm not an avid thrifter, but I do think about it when I donate my items or when I come across someone else's items and think, I wonder what's the story behind that. So if I were to donate something, some Christmas dishware, for example, that I no longer use, where does that go? Whose home does it go to? How do they use it? What's the story about their family? How are they integrating that item into their life? It goes on and lives another life beyond mine. So I like the premise of that. That was a good one. I'm a big mystery fan. I've I'm beginning to start series by two new authors that are new to me, Diana Stabenow and Walter Mosley. Walter Mosley does more like crime noir in, I think it's Chicago, in the, I want to say 30s, 40s, 50s. So, especially his earlier ones. He's a well-known writer, mystery writer. And then Diana Stabenow is current contemporary thriller. I've seen her books, but I have not read them before. I'm a huge fan of Michael Connelly and of Janet Ivanovich. Those are a couple of my favorite authors. J.A. Jans is another one. She's a local author here. She lives in Bisbee and in Seattle. Bisbee is in the southeastern portion of Arizona. And so she's got several different series I like as well. Other than that, that's mostly what I've been reading. I do read some business related things and of course cookbooks. I recently checked out, oh goodness, the Mediterranean Diet Cookbook for One, because I most of the time I live by myself and I hate always having so much in leftovers when I'm cooking dishes. Most recipes are for 4 or even 6 people. And so it was nice to find a Mediterranean Diet Cookbook where the servings are pared down for 1 or 2 people. Then I don't have quite so much in leftovers. So that one just came out. I just got it at my local library. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in. I'm Debbie with Decone Designs. I'm coming to you from the Phoenix metro area in Arizona in the United States. If you're just joining me, please let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from and what questions do you have for me. I'd be happy to answer them. If you're just joining in, behind me are the blocks. On the design wall behind me are the blocks for the Walk in the Stars Quilt Along. And the one that's coming up soon is this one right here. That will be next Wednesday. That's the Missouri Star Quilt block. I'm not sure if I can get the lighting's a little off, and that's because it's getting darker in here. Let me see if I can fix it slightly. Not sure if I'll be able to, so I apologize. The lighting's a little bit wonky in here now that the sun is setting, so I apologize for that. Anybody else have questions for me? I'd be happy to answer them. I was talking about how I've designed the blocks in the quilt to go from easiest in terms of construction to the most difficult. The star flower block, this one, and the friendship star are the easiest. They're just HSTs. It's all in how you lay them out, the big one and the little one. The little one only has 9 blocks, and then the star flower is larger and it has 12 blocks. So it's a tiny bit harder, but it's the same concept. Then we did, thank you, Timeless Cat 16. Let me answer your question in just a second. Then we had, after that, over here is the Ohio Star, which is quarter square triangles. Then the reverse Sawtooth Star, where you learn how to make flying geese. And last but not least, next week is the flying geese, but the difference is that is 2 colors right there, 2 colors in the star points instead of just 1. So it's not too difficult if you're a beginning quilter, or if you want something easier and less taxing on your brain if you are a more experienced quilter. Timeless Cat, thank you for asking. She asked, what are there fun things to do in Arizona? Well, of course, the obvious one is the Grand Canyon, and if you haven't been, yes, it's still there. It's still there, I promise. It'll still be there when you get there. I'm not as big a fan of the Grand Canyon itself as I am of the, there's another canyon where there's Havasupai Falls. There are 3 waterfalls. You have to hike down the canyon. So it's a side canyon of the Grand Canyon, and the Hualapai Native Americans live down there, at the bottom of the canyon. And you have to get a special permit to hike down there. I've been there twice. It is beautiful. It is actually just like the pictures show. The waters are a turquoise, a bright turquoise blue. It's so beautiful. It's because of the minerals in the water. And you can go wading. It's warm. It's beautiful. If you ever have the opportunity and are able to go, I really strongly encourage it. It's a strenuous hike. It's about 8 miles from the rim, the top of the canyon, down to the bottom. And then there are campgrounds, or there is a motel there you can stay in. It's a little town, and it's the only place, I believe, still in the continental United States where mail is still delivered on horseback. They pack it down from the rim down the canyon, and it's delivered to the village. Whoops, sorry about that. Delivered to the village on horseback. So that's really cool too. There's Canyon de Chelly, Saguaro, the Petrified Forest, small museum in Navajo Code Talker Museum in, oh, I can't think of the name of the city, not Ajo, not Bisbee. I just drew a blank. It'll come to me. Sorry about that. That's wonderful. If you are going from Phoenix to Las Vegas or vice versa, the Hoover Dam, the tour of the Hoover Dam, which is just inside the Arizona border, is a wonderful tour. It's very interesting. I recommend that. Let's see. In the Phoenix area, we have a couple of nice zoos. There's lots of hiking, but I wouldn't recommend it in the summer unless you're going right at dawn or at dusk. But there's some beautiful hiking if you get out here in the fall and the spring and the winter. Our winters are really quite mild, as you probably know. So there's some great places to hike. If you like old, well, old being a relative term here in Arizona, like mining type towns, Jerome and Bisbee are wonderful towns in the southeast part of the state. Jerome is where the whole Wyatt Earp gunslinger thing took place, and so that's a fun town to go to. And Bisbee is quite an artistic town. It's kind of an enclave, and there's lots of studios and shops and things like that, art gallery type things to see there as well. Up in Flagstaff, we've got some skiing up there. That's a good place to go skiing, and it's a jumping off point for the Grand Canyon too. If you get here in the summer, we have Slide Rock. That's a lot of fun. So there's a natural water slide. It's not steep or anything, but the water runs really swiftly through some rocks, and it's worn it away, so it's very smooth. And it's a fun place to take kids if you're looking for something to do here in the summers. The water is cool, but it's very refreshing just to go down Slide Rock. It's really fun. Of course, there's camping, and we have some lakes and things like that. So it's a great place to get outdoors. Except in the very heat of the summer in the Phoenix area, you'll probably want to stay inside in the air conditioning. But it's a great place to go up north. You'll find a lot of people who live in the Phoenix metro area go up north to Flagstaff or to Prescott, or they hightail it out of town and they go to San Diego or to LA to the ocean, which is always wonderful in the summers. We've got a few more minutes left. If you have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm really enjoying talking to you all. I wasn't sure how this would go, if I'd have enough to talk about, but I'm really liking answering your questions as well. Let me get a drink of water real quick. Again, if you have any ideas for me about doing a kind of a block of the month, probably every other month, like a wall hanging or a door hanging thing, I'm thinking about that. I don't want to do another quilt along, although I'd love block of the month quilt alongs. I'm doing this one, and I probably will have another one in the spring, so I don't want to interfere with that. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, I know, guilds. One of the things I was going to maybe try to work on is this. So as I mentioned, I belong to the Phoenix Area Quilters Association, and at the last retreat, they gave out this. It is a, I guess you can get it off the internet. It's a little I don't know what you call that. It's an applique thing. You can fuse it. I believe you can fuse it on or stitch it on to fabric, and you make a zipper bag or zipper pouch. And it has a cute little, if you can see that, it's kind of sideways there, a cute little dangly thing you can put on the zipper too. So I found some. I went into my stash of Tula I'm a Tula Pink fan, and I've been hoarding some of this, and I think this is what I'm going to use. The purple will be for the outside, and then this cute fabric, it's got scissors. It's very quilty looking. She's got scissors and spools and things. That'll be for the lining of the bag. So I'm going to be working on that here when I get a break from my other quilts and sew that. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm the retreat coordinator for our out-of-town retreats that PACA will be having this next year. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited about it. The place that we've been is called Memory Lodge. It's in the Flagstaff area in northern Arizona, and it's a lot of fun. I've been several times. I love the facility, and I've been on several PACA retreats, and everyone is so nice and so kind. And shout out to Melody DeGarma, who's been really helping me and coaching me with all of this and having confidence in me to do it. It's just that actually I'm an introvert. I know I'm talking a lot now, but I'm really not talkative. Any of my friends will tell you if I'm in a big group, I just watch. I just sit back and I observe, and if I have something that I think is really important or interesting to say, then I'll say it. But I'm just not a big chatter person, so I'm a little nervous about that because it's a small group. There'll be like 10 of us, and I want to make sure that everyone feels as welcome as I have felt when I go to the retreats, and that I'm making sure that I'm talking with everybody and making them feel welcome, and not just staying in my little introverted corner, but really getting out and getting to know people. I like getting to know people, but I'm more of a kind of a one-on-one or a one-on-two person kind of person. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me, but it's going to be an adventure, a creative adventure. And that, takes me back to kind of the beginning of where we were at the beginning of this live stream. I was talking about why do I say welcome creative adventurers when I open all of my videos. And that's because probably the last, 10, 15 years or so, I've kind of made it a focus or a point in my life to have adventures, to keep things interesting, and so I don't stagnate. And it could be some tiny adventure. Try a new item on the menu, or cook with a food that I've never had before. Try a new recipe, or go someplace new, or try something new. Like I tried paper piecing this summer, and this YouTube live stream is a creative adventure for me. And I'm going to try quilting on my domestic machine with a wavy ruler. I've never done any of that before either. So just keeps it interesting. I keep my eye out to try to do something at least once every other week or so, to find something new, something different, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. That's kind of my big thing. Sure, I like the big trips, like when I drove across the country to Missouri Star Quilt Company, as much as anybody else. But it can be the small things, the little things too, that can be adventures. You never know. So, another creative adventure that I have coming up on my radar, I'm hoping it'll get done for a YouTube video before Christmas, and that is I'm going to make a quilt ladder. Now, I've seen several videos on YouTube about how to make them, and I can use a miter saw, an electric saw, and wood glue, and I can use a jigsaw, and some basic woodworking tools. And I did price it out. It's probably going to cost me around $40 or so to make a quilt ladder. So I'm going to try that, and I'm going to film it, and I'll put it up on YouTube, and we'll see how it goes. Because I really need a little bit more storage now that I have more quilts. Most of my quilts I have given away or given as gifts, but I am getting a bigger stack now, especially this summer when I sewed several quilts for myself. I need a place to put them. I'm so sorry. Not just on other beds. So I need another storage thing, and I prefer vertical storage because my home isn't that huge. I don't have an extra spare closet or anything like that. So I think I'm going to make a quilt ladder. So I'll let you know, and I hope you'll tune in for that creative adventure as well. I think it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. But why not? Don't have much to lose. I can always chop it down and use it for something else if it doesn't quite work out. So that's a creative adventure I've got coming up in the near future. let's see, how much time do we have left? It is right at an hour. I know you probably have to go, and I'm getting hungry too. It's time for dinner. Thank you so much for joining me. It is right at an hour. I really appreciate you all tuning in. And if you like this live stream and you'd like to see more, please let me know in the chat, or give me a thumbs up. I will put this on replay on my YouTube channel as soon as YouTube processes it. I think it might take 30 minutes to an hour for YouTube to process the video, and then I'll put it up on my channel. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. And I will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.